Yeah, totally. Super excited. I feel almost not worthy, I have to say, to be talking with you guys today. So, I mean, I'm just excited and thrilled to hear what you guys are doing right now and to kick off the conversation.
So yeah, let's kick off our conversation. We want to introduce our panelists here. Bethany Donaphin, who is the head of the WNBA League operations. And Bethany, I've worked so closely with you, and I just want to say thank you for all you're doing. I don't think anyone realizes how impactful you have been in the advocacy work with the WNBA players and all that they're doing to use their platform so effectively. Also joining us is one of my faves ever, Elizabeth Williams from the Atlanta Dream, best post player there in Atlanta, doing so many wonderful things. Just named the Sports Humanitarian Team of the Year, and you were able to give that beautiful speech accepting that award. So thanks for joining us, ladies. Bethany, so I want to start with you because you have been such an advocate of lining up Zoom calls. You know, last year with everything happening in the WNBA bubble, Breonna Taylor's mother was someone that the players got to speak with. You're talking with the people from the Voting Rights, Stacey Abrams in Georgia. How have you been able to, in addition to all the other things you're doing, really help these women put their platforms at the top and help them be advocates?
Great question, and I'm always happy to be on a call with you, Holly. You know, I think the power of the social justice platform of the league, and really, you know, it's such a collaborative effort, but at the center of it is always the players. And I think, you know, going into the 2020 season, as we were, you know, convening all of our teams in one place for the first time in the history of the league, it was really important that we capitalize on that moment and we're able to have an impact by working collaboratively. And I think the players have always long been in front of the conversation when it comes to social justice. And really, I think in 2020, the rest of the world kind of caught up. And so what we really did, and we created, I think, a little bit more structure around the work by establishing the WNBA, WNBPA, Social Justice Council. You know, the agenda is led by the players and facilitated by the league and the PA. And so I can't take credit for the power of our players' voices. They are informed, they show up to the conversation with strong points of view, informed points of view that they're not afraid to be bold in. And I think that really was on display. There was such thoughtfulness and strategic thinking around how the league could have an impact and how the players could use their platforms most effectively. And it was really, really rewarding to be a part of probably the most meaningful work I've ever done.
Yeah, well said, Bethany.
I think I was going to say, Elizabeth, I wanted to ask you, because you guys did have to really take the bull by the horns there, and you did some hard things in the bubble, and you're continuing that work. So not only were you advocating for things in government and social change, but now you're advocating for health. You are very active using your platform for health information. How have you continued your work even beyond that powerful moment in the bubble last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, first of all, when you think about the Black Lives Matter movement and our influence in a league of majority of Black women, we have to consider Black health as well. And so I think that's why, as we're still in the midst of this pandemic, a lot of the conversation has been around how can we ensure that we have as safe of a season as possible, despite what's going on, and remain as informed as possible. And so, you know, that looked like educating players on the vaccine and how the virus affects us. And then fortunately relaying that information back to our communities. And so I know teams were able to set up clinics within their respective markets and just have an opportunity to say, hey, not only are we, you know, talking about this, but we are being vaccinated, and we're, you know, sharing the chance for people in our community to do so. And so I think, obviously, the conversations about voting and, you know, legislative changes continue, but I think we were able to kind of be a little flexible in, you know, what our activism looks like.
Tiffanie, I wanted to ask you, because as the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Influential, you see that people are buying into the WNBA, is they're not running from these really bold platforms that the players are putting up and these great stands that the players are making. Why is this a hot property right now in the WNBA for people to get involved with?
Yeah, I mean, brands have been very interested in trying to make sure that, I mean, I specifically try to reach out to brands that very much so are interested in making sure that they're putting out content on social that is relevant, that is timely, that is engaging. And so partnering with organizations like this, athletes within this umbrella has allowed them to kind of continue on their brand equity in that specific space, so long as it remains authentic. We're very much so in this influencer space where we're working with not only influencers who've established their own careers in their own rights, but also those who have just been influential for their niche audiences. Maybe they've done a lot in the maternal, health care space, or they're, really big in the health and wellness space. As long as they have communities and audiences that make a lot of sense for them, these brands are jumping at the chance to find ways to just be authentic in their social engagement overall.
I love that word you use, authentic, because I remember going to do a story at the hospital when Elizabeth was playing at Duke and she was doing an internship in a class revolving around Duke Medical Center. And we went and spent the day with her doing her rounds at the hospital. And she's carried that platform forward in the WNBA. So I love that because it's authentic to her and she continues to do that on her platform. Bethany, tell me a little bit about, I like what Tiffanie is saying about you want your players to be using their platforms. How do you guys talk about this internally with the WNBA, and what does the future hold?
Yeah, I think that the collectively, and when I say the league, I mean the players, our teams, the PA. I think that the ability to stand more boldly in our values is something that I think has happened over the last several years. I think it started with we did a brand reset in 2018, 2019 that involved changing the logo, like the one that Elizabeth has on her shirt. And that was totally informed by kind of the player sentiment and real open channels of communication between the league and the players in a way that I think is very special, in particular to the WNBA. And I think part of that is the CBA negotiations that we had and the deal that was ratified in January 2020. We just had this cadence of communicating with each other that was really effective. And when we came out with this reset, it was really reflective of who our players are. It was unapologetic. It was it was a brand new identity, and in some ways the most authentic identity the league has had. And so, when all of that is, when you're engaging with the WNBA as a marketing partner, as a broadcast partner, you understand that the league is a bold, progressive league that stands for the power of women. And I think that has been our North Star in the last couple of years, especially, and has informed the way that we talk to players about what we're doing. And it's a partnership. It has to be. We're still in the stage of trying to grow awareness, try to grow fan engagement. And I think the more that we can be aligned with all of our stakeholders, with the players at the center of that, the better that we'll be at it.
I have a question to jump into that, Bethany. I'm curious to know, what do those rooms look like? I think, for us, it's very obvious things that might need changing, things that might need updating from, a brand perspective. What kind of research are we looking at? What do those rooms look like? And how are those conversations being established and with what stakeholders?
When we did our brand reset, we actually worked with a brand strategy firm called Sylvain, and we brought the players into the conversation. That was when we were actually physically meeting in rooms on a regular basis. So very different than now, but the communication continues. And in some ways, one of the silver linings about having to go through this pandemic is that we have these means to communicate with each other more frequently. And I think it was, certainly the first time that players were as involved in some of those processes, and we're being, I think, really honest about what the league stands for. And I think there are ways that, and that's being communicated not just in the way the brand is showing up, but in the conversations that we're having, for, with sponsors, with, we have this incredible Changemaker platform that was launched a couple of years ago, and the brands that are coming in and investing in the league know what we stand for. And I think that kind of candor in our conversations has been really helpful. So the rooms are very honest. I think the rooms are authentic and the rooms are bold.
Love that.
I like that too. This brand, I would say, is super trendy right now. And it's funny, you talk about the brand. I look at it from a basketball. The basketball's never been better. That has not been the issue. I think the trajectory of the productivity and the excitement on the court is marrying this moment in time in history where it's so hot and so trendy. Elizabeth, I'm just curious, and maybe all of you could answer this, is why do you think the WNBA is finally hitting a sweet spot and is like so trendy, the brand? I think about the orange hoodie and all the power that has now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reset did play a big part of it, because it's like Bethany was saying, there was an opportunity for players to also have their input in those conversations. And I think a lot of times when companies want to make these changes, they're not necessarily getting the input from the people they need to get it from. And so actually having, because we've talked about how our authenticity drives us, so actually having the players in these rooms talking about, having this new logo, having her out of the box and, looking free and kind of embracing those types of things and having those conversations combined with the great basketball, it was like the perfect timing. And we were still able to keep some staples, keeping that bright orange color, which eventually, morphed into the hoodie. So just the opportunity to have those conversations, let the authenticity of the players kind of drive them, combined with a great product. I think that's how we are starting to see this moment in our sport where it's really popular.
Tiffanie, why do you think it's kind of booming now? It seems like this is a brand people want in on. Why do you think, from your perspective, that reset and it's hot right now?
It's so funny because I feel like a lot of these brands, I mean, for the longest time, when we're working with brands, at least, it's always been about making sure that we're driving some sort of ROI. And typically that's a dollar sign. Typically it's, attributed to something very tangible, tune in, foot traffic, or, download, something specific like that when it comes to influencers, at least. But now it's really about social ROI. And again, relevancy, authenticity, and market. They are more interested in the creative storytelling, the people that are telling these stories on behalf of them as a brand, and making sure that the messaging is like resonating with audiences. Although, as businesses, I'm sure bottom line is bottom line, but at the front of it all, at least leading these conversations, it's really about telling the right story. And so you can't be tone deaf in this market right now. People will call you out, and that is more detrimental than a quarter of like benchmark or below average sales at this point. So I think it's a matter of, it's kind of tough because I want to think and believe that everything's authentic, which it is for a lot of major brands. And so having people just continue to add to the conversation that are part of the audience, kind of like making it come to life, I feel like that's super important. And just the future, it's like about time, I want to say.
It is about time. We've been grinding, but it's paying off right now, right, Bethany?
Totally.
Well, I think that's what's so heartening about this, is that I think everybody recognizes what WNBA players did in 2020, the way they changed the trajectory of history, the boldness and the leadership that they've displayed. But all of those things lived alongside actual business metric growth that matter, right? So we had 68% increase in regular season average viewership. We had 4x growth in our merchandise sales. We had, innovation around, we implemented Tap to Cheer to bring fans into the game, even though we were all in a single site in Bradenton, Florida. We had 140 million taps over the course of the season. So we're seeing that these things can live alongside each other. And I think there's probably a time when maybe there was some concern that you can't be bold and progressive and then also see the business, go to where you need it to go. And I think that that's starting to change in a meaningful way. And we're excited about, that trajectory.
I think that's interesting because, you know, for a long time, I remember in the early days of the WNBA, there was always this conversation about LGBTQ. And this is like one of the first leagues that I feel like really leaned into that space and was having Pride Night. All of the different franchises really leaned into that space. And we're seeing that is a huge consumer group. And I think the WNBA was one of the first to live in that space. How important do you think that's been? Maybe all three of you talk about why you think that has been important.
I mean, I think it's big. I think a lot of times the W has kind of been first, even if they're not necessarily recognized for being first. But that's kind of the nature of the players and the organizations that we have, you know, having teams and ownership groups that understand the importance of these things and understand what our fan bases generally look like, and then embracing that. I think it's big. So I think it says a lot, and I mean we've continued to kind of push the envelope moving forward as far as, you know, being first and being bold and things that aren't necessarily as popular.
I love that you said that, Elizabeth. It's like you guys were doing the work already. Maybe it wasn't on the highest pedestal, or it wasn't said the loudest, but it comes from within, not just, you know, a reaction to it. And I think that's really important. I think that brands need to continue to see these sort of examples out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we, you know, one of the pillars for our Social Justice Council this year is LGBTQ+ rights. And we continue to engage at a league level with community partners who are doing the work day in and day out. You know, partners like Glisten and GLAAD. Raquel Willis, who's a leading Black trans activist, is one of the advisors to the council. So this is something that's a priority for us, and we it's incorporated into the way that we think about you know, our marketing and our corporate partnerships. You know, we have our corporate partners are now stepping up. They, you know, want to be engaged. We had our changemaker Deloitte who you know, sponsored our Pride Month. So there's a lot of momentum, but I think it's the reason that it exists is because that has always been part of the fabric of the league, and a willingness to take a stand there when others maybe were hesitant to.
Again, that word bold. I mean, I just love that. It has been bold and authentic along the way. Let's talk about the second half of the season, because we have tip-off 2.0, we're calling it. I have a big game Sunday, which is Seattle at Chicago. And what are you guys excited about for the second half of the season, not only on the court, but from a marketing perspective? Bethany, let's start with you.
Well, I think it's appropriate because I'm coming to you from Phoenix, where tomorrow we're going to have our Commissioner's Cup final inaugural competition in season, culminating in a pretty exciting event that's happening tomorrow on Amazon Prime Video. Please tune in 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, because we do want that attention. We do want that viewership on something that is innovative and something that we're trying for the first time. I'm excited about innovation in our league and what we can accomplish, and the new eyes that we're getting, the new partnerships we're able to talk about. So on the court, you know, I'm excited about the product, and you know, we have a lot of parity. You know, I think teams are you know, all well positioned, and it's you know, we're going to sit back and see how you know, the teams emerge, and we're excited about the product too. So it's a lot. I think there's so much meat here, and you know, getting to work in it is really, really exciting.
Not only meat, there's cash. There's $500,000.
Well, there's definitely cash on the line for tomorrow. There's a $500,000. There's a $500,000
Yes.
prize on the line for the game tomorrow. So again, but that was part of, you know, what I'm also excited about is how the league can now and you know, is standing for what the entire player experience is. Like this part of what we're doing here is not just we're doing something innovative in season around our competition structure. We're creating new partnerships around it, but we're also compensating players, and that, you know, is something that was a really big part of our CBA discussions. And now, you know, at this point, it's now coming to fruition, and it's exciting to see.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Elizabeth, what did you think when you heard about this new opportunity and you were like, oh, they've talked about compensating us more, and here we go?
Yeah, I mean, Bethany touched on it. We had these conversations in our CBA discussions about creative ways, ones for players to feel like they're more engaged and also feel compensated, and then obviously it's a great branding opportunity for the league and for its partners. So honestly, it's a win-win. I mean, players are excited to win more money, money talks, and it's just a unique way for fans to be engaged as well. So we talked a lot about these creative opportunities, and it's cool to see it come together. So I'm excited to watch the game tomorrow. And obviously excited for the second half of the season because, you know, the Olympic break was pretty long. So there can be a whole lot of changes in what rosters look like and how teams come back out of it. And I think that's going to make for an exciting second half of the season.
Yeah, I think fans being back, you know, many of the arenas are going back to full capacity. I think we're going to see some physical excitement, you know, some energy poured back into the league. Tiffanie, I'm curious, what would be a best case scenario for the second half of the WNBA season from a marketing standpoint?
Yeah, that's so funny because I'm like putting my marketing brain on, but I'm also thinking about my college cheer days. And like, I'm really excited just for people to be interacting again and, you know, posting on social. I mean, we do a lot of social listening here. So just the excitement and eagerness for people to literally watch sports, but then also physically be able to go back in has been really exciting. But from a marketing perspective, I think that I mean, I'm excited to see brands like in organizations like this lean into ideas and dare I say risks. I mean, I think it's a very really awesome, I want to say win opportunity, less of a risk. I feel like that the organization's doing right now. I feel like it's a long time coming for the most part. And as a marketer, I feel like they're going to see a lot of different sort of success metrics at the end of it, which is going to only inspire, hopefully, even more of this in seasons to come. So I'm really excited about all of that.
Okay, Elizabeth, what did you do in your Olympic break? Tell me how you organized your life and your time to be productive and also regenerate.
I mean, the first half of it was just relaxing. You know, we don't usually get an opportunity to really rest for an extended period. So it was seeing family, just hanging out. And then we've been back in practice for almost like 10 days, I think. So we're kind of back in the groove, and it's almost like another training camp. So it's kind of like a chance to relearn everything and feel like you're kind of getting everything back to how it was. So that's kind of been nice to just practice. But I'm even more excited to be playing again. So we're going to be in Phoenix this weekend, just ready to get back on the road and back in the grind of playing.
You talk a little bit about roster changes. You also have some roster changes. Tell us a little bit about what will be different about your team moving forward.
Yeah, so we signed Candace Dupree. She's a vet, a true vet. I think this is year 16 for her. And so she has a lot of experience and championship experience. And so we're excited about that. And, you know, just adding another level of depth to our team as we're just trying to figure things out. It's like I was saying, the second half of the season, I think it's a really big opportunity for us. And I think you'll see a different team and how we approach the game. So I'm really excited about that.
Bethany, I was curious, you know, we've just seen this big bump of, you know, USA women's basketball coming off the Olympics and what this dynasty has been able to accomplish with a 7th straight gold medal. What are some things that the W has talked about and that you guys want to do to try to capitalize on this moment in time, not just for the WNBA, but also for women's basketball in this country?
No, I've been energized by the chatter that, you know, you hear on SportsCenter about kind of, you know, why aren't we talking more about this team? And I think that that's really heartening. And I also, you know, I'm excited about 3-on-3. I think it's the first time people really got to see the sport. And, you know, obviously we have WNBA players who got the gold there too. So, you know, I think there's a lot of opportunity around competition innovation and you know, how we are talking about these athletes. I think the greatest dynasty ever conversation has been really intriguing, and I think that it's the right one to be having. You know, giving kind of props and recognition to what our athletes are doing. And you know, the other thing too is like, everybody's talking about this US team, but there were a lot of Olympians representing many countries across the Olympics. And so it just speaks to the talent that's in the league and, the level of play. So I think there's a lot more to come around, this conversation and around innovative basketball formats.
I'm a little salty. I keep thinking that they deserve like a ticker tape parade. You know how women's soccer got the ticker tape parade in New York? And I know it's because we're in the middle of the season that we can't do that. But one day I just need every person that's been on these 7 gold medal teams to be involved in a ticker tape parade in New York. That's my goal for USA women's basketball. But I'm just
I'll help you organize that. We'll get a brand. We'll get a brand involved.
Get a sponsor. We're putting it out into the universe. Any sponsors, please come on board. Happy to have you.
Yeah.
All right, before we let you go, we're running out of time here. Any last thoughts from you ladies on the importance of the WNBA and how they're marketing in sports right now and really capturing this platform?
I could start. I mean, as someone who's been in the league for 6 years, going into 7, and also been on the union side and been part of union leadership, it's just been really cool to see the growth, to be honest, and to see the openness of the conversation between the union and the league and what we want to do, and the openness of the bigger brands to invest in us. I think a lot of the conversations about women's basketball and women's sports is, okay, but where's the investment? And I think we're at this point where we're seeing that investment and it's paying off. So I'm just excited for the future of our brand, and always excited to represent the players of the W for everything that they do on and off the court.
Well said. I think, we're celebrating our 25th season, and the tagline for this year is "Count It," which is really about the confidence in kind of what you're doing, but also kind of the forward-looking approach to what you will do. And I think that I'm excited about what this league will do, and really to Elizabeth's point, the recognition about women's sports, and I think changing the valuation model for women's sports is an important next step. So I think I'm excited about the next 25 years, and the steps that we can take in making this brand stronger and as culturally relevant as it's become, and maintaining that.
I love that. I agree with both of your sentiments. And, from a sponsoring and marketing perspective, I'm excited to bring people like you to the table and continue to collaborate and foster conversations that matter, because this is something that isn't short-lived. This is something that we need to continue to, have be a part of our framework as we think about reaching new audiences and just putting ourselves out there for years to come. So this is all really exciting.
Yeah, I'm going to get on my soapbox for one quick second because, in my seat for ESPN and ABC, our ratings have never been better. We are seeing this phenomenal growth. And Tiffanie, you said it early in this panel about the return on investment. And I just believe my whole heart that if you get involved and, sign marketing partnerships with the WNBA and with the Atlanta Dream, and you really get involved, whether it's on a local level, a team by team level, or a national level, that you will have a return on investment, because this brand is hot, this product is fantastic, and we're seeing it with every single measurable. You can see that. So I'm just really excited for the WNBA, for all of those of us who've been grinding in this league for so many years, 25 years. It's really on the rise, and we can feel it. It is palpable. So please invest in the WNBA in every possible way. I think that this is a marketing opportunity that is made for society right now, and how we see it. All right, I'm not sure how we get out, or if someone's coming back on to let us out of this. I think
Jesse?
they will. Here he comes. I knew someone had to come on to tell us how to get out, but thank you so much for having us. Tiffanie Petett, Director of Strategic Partnerships for Influential. Thank you so much. Elizabeth Williams from the Atlanta Dream, and of course, Bethany Donaphin, Head of WNBA League Operations. We are grateful for all of you for listening, and invest in the WNBA. I promise you will not be disappointed.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Everyone.
This was incredible. You know, it's always incredible when we can like use our platform to highlight amazing things going on in our world outside of our little marketing bubble. I just appreciate all you ladies coming on. The WNBA has been and continues to be like at the forefront of change and social justice. So I really truly admire all the work that you ladies do. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Thank you, ladies. Bye.
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 Have a great day. Again, huge thank you to Bethany and Elizabeth and Holly and Tiffany for leading that discussion. Wow, that is it. That is our 3 days of programming. There are too many people to thank, but I'm going to take a shot at it. I first want to thank our partners at the NBA, especially some of the names behind the scenes, such as Ed Winkle, Lauren Sullivan, and Chris Eldab. They helped put this together, connect us with all their incredible NBA League office speakers, such as Kate Javari and the rest of her team. I want to thank all the 30+ brand side marketers and session sponsors. There are too many to name, but we had current athletes, former athletes, brand marketers, and everything in between. It was such a special and diverse crowd that we had on this week. So I really just want to thank everyone who was involved. Please shout out our sports marketing upfronts committee, in particular our co-chairs, Matt Coleman of State Farm, Rasan Johnson of United Airlines, Justin Toman of PepsiCo, and Lance Evans of MGM Resorts. Please stay tuned for our future programming. We'll be doing some hockey upfronts, baseball upfronts, motorsports, all sports marketing upfronts. It lives here at Brand Innovators. Thank you all for a great 3 days, and we hope to see you all soon. Thanks so much. Have a great week.